Hi everyone, welcome to Stand Up America. I'm your host Dave Frank. Thanks for joining us. If you're sick and tired of politics in our country and our community, then this could be the program for you. On this program we will discuss what's going on in our community, and we will talk about a plan to begin dealing with our issues in a way that is truly of the people, by the people, and finally for the people in our community. We live in a world where we are voting on American Idol, Dancing with the Stars, CNN, Fox, and other venues. It's now time for we the people to start voting on real issues that affect our lives right here in our community. So let's get started. On my program today, we've got fellow activists in our community. We've got Jesse Davis. Jesse, welcome to the program.
Nice to be here, Dave.
And also Mario Sims. Mario's been a good friend for a long time. And Mario and I used to do a radio program, 22 years ago?
Yes, you're right, Dave.
Called Stand Up America.
You're right.
And we're still fighting. We're still hacking away at it, aren't we?
Right. Same message, same issues.
There you go. Well, anyway, ladies and gentlemen, this program is about not only talking about what's going on in our community, but ways to fix it. So let's talk about some of the things that have been going on in our community. Jesse Davis has been an activist here for the last, how many years, Jesse?
At least the last 3.
3 years. And you got active by?
Basically, some of the corrupt practices that were going on here affected me personally, and that's when I really took notice. I mean, a lot of people don't realize what's going on behind the scenes until it affects you personally in your pocketbook or at your home.
And I think what's going on in our community is affecting a lot of people.
Sure.
You know, when you look at the fact that there are so many vacant homes and businesses in our community. But you had a business here for how many years?
I started my business in 2003, so basically about 10 years.
10 years. And you were getting business from the city.
Correct.
You and 10 other companies or so?
Yeah, about eight or 10 other local contractors.
And then just to cut to the quick, what happened was they were rotating the people, the companies that would get this business from the city, and then what happened?
Yeah, basically all the contractors partook in the work with the city, and then all of a sudden a different person took this program over and basically cut all the local contractors out to feed a friend of his all the work.
So it would be like the head of the street department? Is that who this was?
Well, yeah, I guess it was technically the head of sewer department or whatever, but he was the head of a department, and he had authority to basically bring in who he wanted and just start feeding the work wherever he wanted to.
So the next thing you know, you're getting cut out, and you're struggling to keep your business going, I would imagine, like the other 8 to 10 people.
Yeah, several of the other businesses actually had to lay employees off. And obviously in these economic times, we want to promote job growth, not discourage it.
Right. Well, I think these games have been played for many years in our community. Mario, you and I have been talking about this for many years. And you've done a great job at waking up our community. I just really appreciate the great job that you've done. You've started an organization. I'll let you tell the viewers about the organization and how it all started.
Well, we basically founded, and by we I mean Sam Brown is the chairman of the organization. Sam came to me back in March, right after the mayor had the State of the City address. We were really, I guess, dismayed about particularly the situation with the chief of police, how that whole thing went down, the confusion around that. And I didn't know Chief Darrell Boykins at the time. I still don't know him. I've met him. But what we were concerned about was the lack of transparency. I think most Americans would like to think that their government operates in a transparent manner. And when we saw things happening that were curious, suspicious, that we began questioning how the decisions were, Sam and I decided to found Citizens United for a Better Government, which is a a citizens watchdog group, I guess is the best way to describe it. It was based on the Better Government Association of Chicago, which had been around for 73 years. And of course, interestingly enough, had been started because Al Capone's influence on local government was affecting the transparency. And you know, essentially, as I listened to Jesse talk about what happened with him initially having contracts with the city, you know, the question comes in my mind, you know, aren't these bids supposed to be competitively let out? I mean, you would think that a person couldn't create a fiefdom on taxpayer money to then determine that he's going to use the taxpayer money to feed his friend instead of feeding taxpayers. I mean, certainly you're a taxpayer and a business owner.
What happened with that, Mario, is the work we were doing in particular was not actually taxpayer money per se. The money in this fund was actually accumulated by the city charging homeowners on their monthly water bill for a sewer insurance. And basically, us contractors that were on that list, if a homeowner had a sewer problem that couldn't be rectified via roto-rooting or snaking a line and it needed to be dug up, they had roughly, let's say, $1 million in that fund every year, and they would have one of the contractors come out and excavate and repair that sewer problem, and they would get paid out of that fund. So it really wasn't tax dollars, and there wasn't a bid process. So therefore, they kind of were able to just do what they wanted to do. But for them to take all the local contractors who the homeowners are used to and just throw them to the side and bring an out-of-towner in and force the citizens of South Bend to have to use this guy and tell them that, you know, you have to use him. He's the only guy certified in the city to do this work. I mean, that's just wrong. And essentially what it boiled down to was they pretty much brought this guy in and set him up in business and monopolized that sewer insurance program.
Well, let me kind of go back to my original thought when I said taxpayer money. This, in other words, this is money that if Dave and I had paid into for part of our water bill if we live in the city, right?
Correct.
So this is money that is not created by the city. It's money that the city receives through the citizens.
Correct.
The taxpayers. Okay,
Yes.
that's why I went there. So the money is then paid to the government, the local government. Okay. Now, local government is supposed to represent everyone. I mean,
Correct.
you know, if I go down to pay a parking ticket, they're not going to tell me, well, you live on this side of town, so you don't have to pay parking tickets. But so where I'm going with this is this, and this is just amazing. And Dave and I have addressed this for years, this type of nonsensical logic that government uses. In other words, you take my money and Dave's money, you put it into a pot. Okay, this is government, which is supposed to be governing everyone, right? But then I'm Joe, department head, who decides I'm going to take Dave and Mario's money. I don't like Jesse, but I'm going to give it to Bob, let's say, who I know, and I'm going to cut out 10 local contractors and give it to my guy.
Correct.
But that doesn't even make sense.
And what you just described was organized crime.
Yeah, I mean,
You know, you mentioned Capone earlier.
Right.
It wasn't just Capone, it was organized crime, and that's what's been going on. That's what Chicago was known for. And look at the governors over the years that have gone away for participating basically in organized crime.
So you have organized crime being
Locally.
paid, locally, being
Locally.
paid using taxpayers' funds, being paid with taxpayer money to make the determination that you as a taxpayer aren't going to receive equal access to this money. In other words, it wasn't a competitive situation. What I'm saying, Jesse, is you didn't lose a contract because you made a mistake or you damaged some property.
Never. It was strictly politics. Strictly politics.
Well, see, Dave, that's what we've been talking about for years. That, okay, whoever's in charge of this, let's say it's the mayor,
Right.
runs a campaign on whatever he runs on, transparency and I'm going to do better and hope and change or whatever it is, okay? So he gets in the office, he oversees an operation where there's a guy who has access and control to $1 million of taxpayer money.
Right.
And the guy now decides well, I'm just not going to take care of Jesse here anymore and the other 10 or 9 or 10 business owners. And I'm just going to now use this money in my position to give it to whoever I want to give
To
it
a crony, to a political crony.
That's
cronyism,
That's
and that's what's
cronyism.
That's what's
That's
going on.
corruption.
And it's not only going on in Chicago. It's not only going on in Washington D.C. It's
going
going
on
on
here locally.
in our own community. And the question that we've got to start asking ourselves: Jesse's a prime example as to how these games are played.
Right.
You know, he's and what's really neat about Jesse is it woke him up, and he said, "Wait a minute, there are a lot of games being played here," and he's done an excellent job at building a website and actually showing videos of people that work for our city, that are in charge of our city, taking our hard-earned tax money and giving it to their friends or receiving paychecks. And didn't you say you did a video of somebody in charge of a department that was spending the day at a bar or something?
Several times we found city vehicles that were parked at bars, and sometimes for extended period of time, 2 hours, maybe even longer, when they were clocked in and should have been working. And basically, when I started uncovering this and found out that they knew I was taking photos and videos, then I was threatened via the legal department from the city with a cease and desist letter saying if you continue to video and audio or take photographs of these people in public. Now, mind you, these are public employees that we pay their wages.
being paid with taxpayer
Yes,
money.
if you continue to photograph these people, we will in fact sue you, and we'll get a restraining order, I guess, to keep you out of the city. And, scare tactics. And, I mean, we've got laws that were created to stop this type of thing, the RICO Act and the Little RICO Act of Indiana. But when there's loopholes in those laws and they create their own laws to protect themselves, little guys like me can't even go up against them.
Well, so you're a whistleblower, and this is how you know that a system is corrupt or not. In a good, clean system, whistleblowers are looked at like they're heroes. They're exposing things that aren't supposed to be done. But in a corrupt system, when a whistleblower like yourself stands up, he's threatened.
You're
You were
penalized.
threatened. You were penalized. You were scared.
Oh, correct.
Well, let me just make this analogy here. As I said, Citizens United for a Better Government used the motto of the Better Government Association in Chicago. And I remember seeing a television show, because the Better Government Association in Chicago works with some of the news media and in partnership. And once they uncover corruption, they'll get the media involved. The media will come out, take pictures, and ask questions, and do some video shots. There was a case where the Chicago, the department that runs the Streets and Sanitation Department, they had determined that someone had stolen like 50 or 60 tires off of trucks, city trucks. And so when an employee uncovered the fact that the gates were locked from the inside, and the only way you can get in if you had a key, so it was an inside job. So they went to the Better Government Association. Better Government Association got one of the TV stations involved. So they came out and they began asking questions about, where are these tires? These tires are very expensive. Where did it go? Well, it turned out that you had some employee who was freelancing,
Ripping them off.
Yeah, stealing the tires.
He had a
and-
little black market scam going.
well, the guy got fired.
Yeah.
But because it was exposed, the corruption. But in what you're saying, this is incredible. Is the legal department? Here you are, a business owner. You've been doing business with the city. All of a sudden, the city decides. One guy at the city decides that he is going to cut you off for no reason. You and others off, 9 or 10 other contractors. Okay, so you take a hit in your income. Okay, so he now decides that he's going to bring in his guy from out of town, give him all the business he was given to 10 people, for not because it requires a competitive bid.
Right.
Okay, but simply because he can.
Yeah,
Okay.
and he's got something going.
He
with this
can,
guy.
and
He's-
he knows
he's
that
got
no
a
one's
deal going.
Yeah, no one above him.
Right.
Okay, is going to say, hey, what you're doing is wrong. Slap his hand.
Well,
okay.
and basically what it boiled down to when you bring this up to the other officials, you basically get ignored. And even when you go to the extent to file a lawsuit, then you get counterclaims against you, frivolous. But the problem is the gentleman who ran this program for many, many years did a great job, and he had passed away. As soon as he passed away, within a matter of weeks, this other person had taken the program over, and things changed. Well, when we called the city and asked them, we were told, oh, nobody's been kicked off the program, we're just making some changes. And to this day, that's still what I'm told. And it boiled down to, when I brought these issues up, they said, well, we're trying to save the city money. Well, if you take a look at the program and you look at their numbers, they've consistently basically spent the same amount of money every year out of this program. Even now that
Now it's
they've
just
got
going to one guy.
Yeah, but now it's all going to one person instead of another, and several of us. And that was their excuse basically. We're saving money, and then you have them telling you, well, that we're not telling customers that they have to use this guy. Well, when you've got customers calling you, telling you to the contrary, and you can prove that, then you start to look a little deeper. Well, they're telling customers that the contractors that used to do this work for all these years aren't certified to do it anymore in the city. Well, nothing's changed as far as us being insured and bonded and able to do this work. I'm still to this day insured and bonded to excavate in South Bend, yet I get no work, but I pay for that insurance and bond every year. And that's the game they play.
So here's a business struggling to keep going, and there are 9 other businesses. This is a time where we're looking for people to have jobs in America, to use our tax money. They gave us this big stimulus fund to hopefully put it into the pockets of the working people. And when it gets down to the bottom, the local government, what do? Instead of distributing it between 10 companies that are going to hundreds of employees, they narrow it down to 1 or 2 companies, and they keep that money for themselves. It's just a very sad game.
And it doesn't even stay here in our community, because this other contractor is actually from out of town. So all the money he reaps now from this program, other than supplies or fuels he may buy here, it all goes back to his hometown. So we don't even see the results of that money here in our town
Our
any
community
longer.
is bleeding some more.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, let's look at the comparison here. Chicago, which is known for decades of corruption, addresses this situation, as I just explained with the guy stealing the tires from the street department. But here you can document it. You go to, I assume you went to city attorney, the mayor's office, that whole thing.
And did anybody have an interest in helping you?
Absolutely nobody.
Well, no, they threatened him with a lawsuit.
Nice.
I mean,
Okay, listen, guys, we probably don't have a lot of time left. Mario, what's the answer? I mean, okay, tomorrow's election day. 48% one way, 48% the other way. Isn't that basically telling us these politicians are either 6 of one, half dozen of the other?
Dave, we've been doing this. We did the radio show in, 91, 92. It's been,
20 years.
20 years, somewhere like that. The same problems are coming up.
Nothing's changed.
I think Tom Bradamus used to always say that, if you keep doing the same thing, expect a different result. That's the definition of insanity.
Absolutely.
So obviously, the people we're voting in are just doing the same thing. The new administration just came in January, and this has gone on during the new administration. Dave, I think your idea to allow people to use their cell phone and vote on issues is the only way you're going to be able to give government back to people. Obviously, we can't trust people because they get in these positions, and for whatever reason, they take our money and give it to whoever they want instead of doing the right thing.
Mario, we're racking our brains trying to figure out who do we want to represent us. It reminds me of years ago when I was a little kid, a guy in the service station came out and he put gas in our car and he did our windshield and checked our tires maybe. And, in this day and age, that person doesn't exist. We now do that for ourselves.
Right. And pay more money.
And we pay for the oil companies need it, But, so the question is if these people that were pulling our hair out trying to figure out who we want to represent us, who's going to steal from us the least, who is the lesser of the evils, why don't we just hook up the necessary technology and start representing ourselves? I mean, look, we've got the Travel Channel, we've got the Food Channel, we've got the Sports Channel. we've got all these different channels, but we don't have the most important channel. And the most important channel is the local issues channel, because it's so imperative that we, the people in our community, we're the ones that care about this community more than anybody. I can tell you we care about it more than Washington, D.C. cares about it, or Indianapolis cares about it. We, the people, care about our community, our kids, their education, health care. So why don't we start coming up with ideas and quit waiting for Washington, D.C. to fix our community and state capitals, and let's let the people start coming up with great ideas to make education better.
Well, you just look at this situation with Jesse. Let's say you have your system up and going where you can use your cell phone. You have Jesse on. You have whoever heads this department on. You have Jesse making his case. You have the other guy saying, well, we decided we're going to pay 10 people. We're going to just pay my guy. And then you let the people vote. How do you think that vote would turn out?
I think Jesse and the rest of the business owners that he was associated with, I think they'd win. And there are a lot of other issues, so many other issues, and so many issues that really aren't being dealt with in our community. I think probably the number one issue that is on everybody's concern is health care.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have health care, you don't have your health, nothing else matters.
Absolutely.
And we're sitting here waiting for Washington, D.C. to come up with some kind of solution. The insurance companies aren't going to come up with a solution. They're laughing all the way to the bank. Pharmaceutical companies aren't going to come up with a solution. They're laughing all the way to the bank. It's the people in our community that have the ideas that are going to solve this issue, but we've got to give them a voice, and that's what this system does. It gives each and every one of you, the people, an opportunity to have your voice heard, because maybe you've got an idea to make our education system better. I've got some good ideas to make our education system better. It's got some real problems, but I know a lot of other people do too. There are people that have ideas to make our healthcare system better. There are people that have ideas to make our environment better. Many, many ideas to make our community better. And what we can do is we can have our local issues television and radio channel, and I think WNIT would be a great station to do this with, because public broadcasting, I think it's time that public broadcasting actually start broadcasting the public. And we have this beautiful facility, we have all the equipment, and all we've got to do is build a local computer that will have your citizen participation identification number, so that when you want to vote on an issue that you're concerned with, and if you aren't concerned with any issues, you don't have to vote, but if you are concerned with an issue, you can vote with any touch-tone phone. I mean, after all, we're voting on American Idol, we vote on Dancing with the Stars, we vote on CNN, we vote on Fox. Right. Why aren't we voting on issues in our community, like even this Boykins issue? You know, he was let go under false pretenses, and whether he should come back or be rehired. Why are we leaving that up to one mayor to make that decision? Why don't we just give that issue directly to the people and let them decide who they want their police chief to be?
Yeah, well, I mean, certainly people should have input in who the police chief should be. Certainly people should have input on the budget. You know, Jesse was showing me before we came on air, you know, some outrageous budgetary you know, line items on the budget that I think if the people were involved from their home and be able to watch television at home and see, you know, line items and see what the actual budget would be, people would be outraged. I mean, you were saying how many jobs were added by this incoming administration?
What I was able to find was 36 new positions created this year since Pete Buttigieg became mayor.
Hey, let me take the last few minutes to explain how simple this plan is. The politicians have already figured this out. What they've been doing is they've been remapping America for a long time. It's called gerrymandering. Gerrymandering is when you remap your district so that you can either get elected or re-elected. The Postal Service has figured this out a long time ago. They remapped America with zip codes so that they could deliver the mail better. And the Postal Service, or the phone company, has figured it out with area codes. They remapped America with so that we could communicate better. It's now possible for us to remap America so that it looks like a honeycomb. And if you look at God's creature that's most responsible for making the world a beautiful place, it's a honeybee. He stores the fruits of its labor in a honeycomb, and if you ever look at a honeycomb, it's made up of hexagons. Our community will now be a hexagon. The nucleus will be a local issues television and radio channel to send your ideas out for making our community better. We'll build a community computer that will have your citizen participation identification number. The banks are already using this to collect our money. The credit card companies are using it. We're going to build the same kind of system to collect your voices so that you can vote on these issues, and the computer will make sure that you vote only one time. And we will present these ideas to you. We'll present the debates on these ideas, assign an issue number to it. You can vote on any interested issue, and we can now have decisions made of the people, by the people, and for the people. And we can stop this silly political stuff where we're running around believing that some politician knows best what is best for the people better than the people.
Well, obviously the checks and balances, there are 9 city council members. You have 9 county council members. No one has addressed this issue.
Nobody.
So, I mean, but they're elected officials. And many of them I know and respect, but I mean, this is ridiculous. You have a businessman here who has taken a hit on his revenue, a local businessman who can employ people, who's been taking a hit on his revenue, on a job that he can do, has been doing, simply because the mayor is not going to tell the guy who's cut him off and 9 other or 10 other, businessmen off, because he wants to, put the money in the pocket of a friend, a crony. That's absurd.
Well, we just can't keep doing this. We have to come up with a better tax system, keep our money right in our community, and have issues like Jesse's presented directly to the community so that we can get these issues resolved. But politicians can't do this. Only we the people can do this. That's why our country started off with we the people, and that's what this system does.
Well, looking again, going back to this budget, it looks like instead of expanding your business, government is using your money to expand their business.
Yes, by millions.
I mean,
All of a sudden, these 9 guys on the city council are spending $280 million a year of our money without asking us. It's totally silly. But anyway, listen, hey, I want to thank you guys for being on our program today. Jesse, thanks so much. And Mario, hey, you guys are the greatest. Thanks for doing everything you're doing for the community. I know you really care, and I know I care about this community. We've all seen it when this community worked, but until we change the system within our community, I don't think things are going to look very bright. But we can do this. We have the technology. We're going to make it happen. So anyway, hey, thanks for watching Stand Up America, and we'll see you next time.